the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the Department of Labor Employment and Training Administration. And our main customers are employers for hiring and recruiting purposes, job seekers and career explorers. We produce a lot of information and tools that are helpful for job seekers and career explorers from, high school through, whenever you look for your last job, and also for job counselors who help them. Um, and we have a wealth of data and information, so I would encourage you to come explore our website. And I have links to the various data that I'm going to be showing throughout the presentation. So, how is the job market doing? Unemployment is rising both in Minnesota and in the US. Right now, it seems to be rising maybe just the tiniest bit faster in Minnesota, but it's been rising very, very slowly. It's been a very slow, as you can see here, very slow increase in the number of people who are unemployed, a very slow decrease in the number of people who are employed. And interestingly, more people are jumping into the job market. There's a couple other signs of increased difficulty in finding work. For example, longer spells on unemployment and more people being unemployed long term, so 27 or more weeks. But again, that's also creeping up slowly. Um, Interestingly, in Minnesota, we're still adding jobs. So you can see the blue line is Minnesota. This is over the year growth. So we've been growing at about, almost 1.5%, between 1 and 1.5%. Um, the country as a whole, employment growth is really slowing. And I can get into some more details on that. This is breaking it down by industry sector. You can see in blue that most of our industries or most of our sectors continue to grow over the year. This is as of December, with the exception of information and financial activities. Information is where libraries are coded. So that is you guys, it's a very small sector. So very small job losses there look like really big percentage changes on this graph. But that industry is struggling in Minnesota. You can see in nationwide, there are a number of very large sectors that are losing jobs, including manufacturing and professional and business services and government. So, those are big sectors, very concerning overall, and that's where you're seeing that decrease in the over-the-year job growth. Oh, this is a fancy slide with with things that appear later. So we also look at the number of job vacancies in the economy. And you can see that this red bar shows that vacancies were down in 2024, and with the number of number of unemployed workers increasing slightly, we are seeing a bit of a shift in, that's kind of what drives that difficulty of finding a job. But we still have more job seekers. We still have more job openings than we have job seekers. So we're still in fairly good shape. As of, the latest data that I saw was for November. We're still in fairly good shape, and we're in better shape than the US as a whole. But we are seeing a decrease, as you can see, that's from this first bullet point. We peaked in March 2022. Now, that was coming out of the recession, a little bit of a different kind of job market where we were building up after massive layoffs. We were at 253,000 job openings in Minnesota, and now as of November, again, we're at 158. But that's still as I said, a good ratio with unemployed. So I guess what I'm saying is the market is kind of it's showing some signs of stress, but we're still in a fairly good place. We haven't like, you know, I don't want to even say the R word, but we certainly haven't gotten to a place where we're talking about recession yet. We're just not. That's not where we are. Um, This is more information coming out of our job vacancy survey, and it's really broader information. What I kind of wanted to point out here is that the majority of job openings in Minnesota and across the country require a high school diploma or less. Only about 36% require post-secondary education. Library occupations tend to fall into that higher education world of jobs. But just for context, these two bars are the number of openings that require no, where employers are saying that these positions require no education or they require only a high school diploma or GED. And these jobs, these bars over here require some post-secondary all the way through advanced degree. We also do employment projections. We do 10-year projections and 2-year forecasts. Our most recent projections were out through 2032. We're going to be updating those, I believe, this year. Um, and we estimate a growth rate over that period of 4.6%, job growth rate. And you can see the regional breakdowns. I have some slides later that go in specifically into library occupations. So this is kind of just overall Minnesota sort of estimate. And then another tool that we have that I just think everybody should know about is our cost of living in Minnesota tool. It's what we do is we estimate for different family types in different regions of the state what the cost of living is. It's a very basic cost of living. It's what you need to, eat, pay for housing, healthcare, transportation, taxes, and childcare. Um, and a small amount of other. So very basic cost of living, but we use this. Well, this is used by a number of different, this is used in a number of different statutes and in a number of different programs. It's used as a baseline in the One Minnesota plan, if you are familiar with that. Um, and we also use it. We use it to talk to career explorers about what they need to think about when they're looking um, at occupy at their options. And we use it with employers when we talk about recruitment and retention, because if you're not paying um, basically a living wage or the cost of living in your community, then those jobs just aren't sustainable for people to take. They may take them, but they're going to always be looking for something that actually allows them to meet their cost of living. So this is I just think this is such a useful tool. Um, and it's just good to know about for a variety, for even talking to your children who are maybe in high school, looking at their education options and their career options. And then so I know artificial intelligence is I personally I really hate this topic. I just don't even want to think about it. I have a 15-year-old son right now, and I just don't want to think about it. But it is important. I think it's important to talk about. It's important to think about, and it's important to know a little bit about. Um, Luke Greiner and Cameron Mocked in our office wrote an article in September 2024. This is based on national research. They kind of took that research and boiled it down to what does this say for Minnesota. Um, So, I think even just from last year, or from this would be like a little, a little over a year ago, we all are in a more knowledgeable place around AI. It's just you sort of can't like read the paper without or listen to the news without coming across conversations about it. But basically, they're what they're doing is they're saying, okay, and I think this is probably the right analysis at the moment, and it's really all we can know. They're saying, okay, there are many occupations that are exposed to AI. We probably, many of us are using AI in our daily jobs, now. Um, and that's what this is measuring. It's not measuring how many jobs are going to go away as a result of AI. It's not measuring what kinds of jobs are going to go away as a result of AI. This analysis is just looking at what jobs are impacted by AI, kind of like on the job. And they come up with a estimate of 1.6 million jobs that are highly exposed to AI. And Minnesota has a concentration, of employment that's going to be impacted. And I think their conclusions are really that the jobs with higher education requirements and higher wages tend to be more impacted by AI. This is a technology that's impacting white collar jobs, whereas automation uh, um, impacted more blue collar jobs. And so I tried to boil this down just to library occupations. Um, these are occupations that Dru Frykberg and I talked about as being, and this isn't the full list. This is the list that I had data on around artificial intelligence. But these are a list of occupations that we came up with as library related. Um, and, market research analysts and marketing specialists, that's a very broad occupation. It's a large occupation. It certainly involves research. Um, and so that's top on the list in terms of AI exposure. AI exposure down here at the bottom of the table, you can see it ranges from 1.5 to negative 2.1. So 1.427 is on the high end of that. Museum technicians and conservators are on the lower end of that. But again, market research analysts is the largest occupation on this list. And so I just wanted to point out that that is one that um, is estimated to be highly exposed to AI. Okay, so the next section is a deep dive into library and related occupations. Again, Dru and I, mostly Dru, came up with a list of occupations that we think are kind of the target occupations for people with library science backgrounds or who are interested in library occupations. Um, this data is from our occupational employment and wage statistics program. And just a couple things to point out here. Library related occupations tend to have above average wages. So I have the wage across the median. We look at median wages because we want to get that middle point. The median wage across all occupations in Minnesota, this is as of 2025, was $26.22 an hour. And you can see most of these median wages are well above that. The other thing and that's related to the educational requirements. The other thing I wanted to point out is that from a career exploration perspective, seeing a nice spread between the 25th percentile and the 75th percentile wage What that really tells you is that there's room for growth in that occupation. And so, if you're in career exploration mode, that's if you can get reliable wage estimates, that's a nice thing to look at because it just tells you that that's an occupation with some career growth opportunities. And I have sources for all of these, so you can go into our data tool and explore these if there are other occupations that you're interested in. This is another slide on employment projections, and this is looking at the occupational groupings that we do. So, the list of occupations that I showed would fall into legal occupations, educational, and library related occupations. And let's see. The marketing specialist is, how come I'm not seeing it here? Why am I not seeing it? Um, Service, no. Business and financial operations occupations. So education and library occupations are projected to grow at 4.6% through 2023, adding 8,222 jobs. Legal occupations are expected to grow 5.8%, adding 1,200 jobs. And business and financial occupations, that's a larger occupation. I'm sorry I didn't add it to my bullet list, but it's expected to grow at 6.6%. But again, it's a large grouping. So these are, close to average growth rates. Total all occupations are growing at 4.6%, so business and financial is growing a little bit faster. In the next slide, you'll see that we also average we look at job openings due to growth, retirements, and turnover. So you'll see that in the next slide. And then the top growing occupations overall in the economy, and it has been fairly stable over quite a long time, are healthcare support occupations and then healthcare practitioner occupations, practitioner and technical occupations. And then we have architecture and engineering occupations and growing very rapidly, and personal care and service occupations as well, growing at 8.1%. And community and social service occupations. Oh, and then life science and social service occupations. But actually, the big groups here are personal care and service, healthcare support, and healthcare practitioners. So this is boiling it down to the library-related occupations. You can see that some of these are, very rapidly growing occupations. Market research analysts, large occupation. It's just in terms of growth projected to add 3,300 jobs. Some of the other bigger ones, project management specialists, growth rate of 7.9%, adding almost 1,400 jobs. Total hires is an estimate of retirement of growth in this occupation, plus retirements, plus turnover. So you'll see some pretty big numbers here, but this is really what we estimate to be basically the number of job openings that it would take to, bring this occupation over that 10-year period, for it to maintain its staffing plus grow whatever amount it's growing. The other thing I was going to point out is that some of these occupations are projected to shrink over the next 10 years. But you can see that with retirements and turnover, there still will be opportunities in those occupations. And then we have a tool called Occupations in Demand, which basically takes a lot of the different information that we have and ranks occupations based on employer demand. So, are there job openings? How big is the occupation? And then, are there a lot of unemployed people in this occupation? Because that would decrease, your ability to find work in that occupation. And then we have our regional analysts really take a close look at that list and make sure that it makes sense in their region. So 5 stars means very high demand for this occupation. Employers are going to be hiring in this occupation. 1 star is the lowest demand indicator. And so you can see what the current rank is and what how it breaks down into that 5 star rating. And then the last thing I did was I took a look at I took a look at job titles that were related to these occupations. This is not a comprehensive list at all. These are job titles that Drew and I came up with that are maybe a little bit outside of the occupations. And just kind of take a look at what kind of job openings show up on the National Labor Exchange. So the National Labor Exchange is just a job bank. It's a bank of jobs that employers contribute to. They can contribute either to the state job banks, and then that gets fed into the National Labor Exchange, or they can contribute these job openings directly to the National Labor Exchange. So it's a pretty comprehensive list. Certainly not 100% of job openings out there fall into the National Labor Exchange, but it's a pretty comprehensive list. And so you can just see for some of these, maybe like slightly more obscure job titles, how many job postings are there right now? And if there are job titles that you're interested in, you can also just go to this website and we can look for jobs for those job titles, and you'll come up with the actual job postings, which is nice too. And that's what I have. Does anyone have questions for me? I'm going to stop sharing.
Stephanie, what's the best way for people to ask questions?
Whatever they're comfortable with, just coming off mute or putting it into chat. Either way works.
Well, while people prepare their questions, and I encourage you to do so, my question to Oriane would be, Oriane, your 15-year-old expresses an interest in library work. What recommendations do you have?
Ooh, that is a very good question. Um, well, I mean, you know, clearly, well, okay, I'm going to say, uh, being a lover of libraries myself, libraries aren't going anywhere. There's so much opportunity for um, the kind of um, information gathering and research and you know curation of research that librarians are expert at doing. And the other thing is library careers fall into so many different industries. So education, legal, professional services, many different industries. So it's kind of dispersed across the economy. Um, Probably the biggest number of library related occupations are in education, in schools, and that's certainly, hopefully, not going to change. So I mean, I think there's lots of opportunity. I know that in schools, librarians do a bunch of different things. Like in my son's middle school, the librarian was the one that kept track of all the iPads and helped students with their iPads. So, so I mean, it's just, I think that, as in any occupation, there's just so many different opportunities. But I think for librarians, maybe more so because it's such a versatile type of educational background and knowledge base.
And when you mentioned schools as a really good place to focus, it would that include everything from primary school to all the way to higher ed when you made
Yes,
that remark?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And higher ed, meaning very specialized types of higher ed, like legal, um,
Mhm.
colleges and programs. So yeah, very, very diverse.
And we have a question in the chat for you, Oriane. Gail asks, you had the job projection chart for 2022, 2032. Do you have a chart comparison for 2012 to 2022 projection versus actual outcome? How accurate is
I,
that kind of projection?
that is a very good question. Projections, obviously, we don't, if it would be nice to know what was going to happen 10 years out, but we just don't. We have insight based on what has happened over the last 50 years. We have that much data to look at. But we don't know what's going to even happen tomorrow. So these are projections that are based on they're based on the overall economy. So where is GDP going? Where is are there going to be people to fill these jobs? So demographics plays a huge role. Um, what is basically with every 10-year projection, we do expect there to be an economic slowdown. So, how deep is that economic? Now, nobody predicted COVID, right? We didn't predict the COVID pandemic. We didn't predict the depth of the Great Recession. And so I don't have the chart to show you, but we do know that projections, basically the overall direction tends to be accurate, but at that small at that occupation level, there's 650 occupations. They are, last time we measured, they are better than flip of the coin in terms of direction. So don't put too much stock in them, but they do give you a sense of sort of overall direction. Is this occupation growing or is it not grow? Is it probably going to grow or is it probably not going to grow?
Thanks for
That's a
the
very
question.
insightful question, as
Yeah.
I can expect from this group.
Okay.
I have a quick clarification question about the R word earlier. The recession, when you said that we likely aren't heading towards a recession, did you mean Minnesota or as a country?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, now there was an exception to this, but the general rule is that when the nation goes into a recession, all the states go into a recession eventually, right? Because we kind of are a fairly cohesive economy. There was an exception to that at the end the in tw in 19 in the 1990s. Minnesota never went into the recession that enveloped the country. And I'm not saying that we're going. I'm just saying that the labor market does seem to be slowing at this point, based on these indicators. But again, it's still a relatively good labor market for job seekers.
Thank you.
Based on these indicators. I think what we're seeing, and it's hard to sort of parse it out from these indicators, but what we seem to be seeing is that it is a hard labor market to enter as a young person or as somebody just entering the labor market with little experience.
Oriane, I imagine some of the attendees, they work in libraries, they're always looking for ideas for adult programming or ways that they can help their patrons who are looking for jobs. So could you talk about the services that your office offers?
Yes, absolutely. We have regional analysts. We have six. We have one in each of the planning regions. They provide presentations kind of similar to this one. As a matter of fact, you may have in normal times you might have gotten Tim O'Neill, who's our Twin Cities regional analyst, but he was busy, so I stepped in to do this presentation. And so yeah, they're out presenting all the time. They present on sort of the overall labor market, specific occupational groups, or sectors. They do all kinds of different presentations on the labor market. So they're a great resource. I mean, we also are the workforce development agency in the state, and so we have job counselors available and other resources for job seekers. So lots of
I'll talk about those.
lots of race. And yes, Kelly's our expert on that. And I haven't used the word transferable skills, but I think Kelly is going to cover that concept.
I put some links in the chat that will lead you to Deed's Labor Market Information Office in case anyone is interested in, contacting an analyst that could come and deliver a presentation for your library, as well as there were great tools that Oriane did showcase in her presentation that you can use and your patrons can use when exploring the job market and careers. And are there any more questions for Oriane? Anne?
This was great. I think it confirms some of the things that we see looking at our own job line, that there are 2 archivist positions a year advertised or whatever. But we also have people who are attending from other places that are not Minnesota. Do other states have similar? So if I were thinking I was going to move to who knows where, Indiana, can I look at their cost of living index?
Well, that is a good question. No, because most states don't produce a cost of living index. Maybe Indiana does, I'm not sure. But there is an office like us in every state. Also, what Kelly's going to present is a national website. And so all of the information that she's presenting is available for every state and for the nation. And in general, most of what I presented, with the exception of cost of living, is available nationwide. So states produce it in collaboration with the federal government. So it's available for every state. And it's all comparable information.
Yeah, I'll show you our cost of living tool.
Thanks. And what kind of impact have you seen after the federal layoffs and all that ridiculous activity that happened earlier? Is that going to impact the quality and the quantity of data that's available to the average person?
Well, that is a very good question. As a matter of fact, I was just in a little mini conference just before this where people were talking about that. I mean, again, like with projections, it's sort of hard to know what's going to happen tomorrow, particularly in this environment that we're in right now. We haven't seen an impact yet, except I will say what we're seeing, and this is a much longer term trend. We're seeing an impact on our response rates. So it is hard to get survey responses from employers, and it's hard to get the household survey responses for the the current population survey, which is what feeds the unemployment rate data. And so those are long-term trends that are affecting the quality of our data. You know, of course, funding is always an issue. But outside of those longer term trends, we really have seen no real changes in the way the data is produced, the way it's provided. Um, so that's been heartening.
Thanks. That's good news.
Yeah.
Any more questions for Oriane? If you want to just jump off mute and ask, or put it in the chat, or you could, yeah, someone else. Okay, this might be a good time then to transition to our second speaker, who is Kelly Tenner from CareerOneStop. Take it away,
Yeah.
Kelly.
All right. Let me get my screen shared now. And I want to share. Which one? I want to share that. All right. So I actually am just gonna I don't have a presentation. I'm just gonna show you live from the site. So right now you should be able to see the compare cost of living tool that we were talking about. Do you see that? All right. And can everybody hear me okay? All right.
Yes.
All right. So I'll go over all of this, but I just wanted to pull this up and let you know, yeah, you can put in a city, state, zip code, how much you earn, where you want to move to, and it'll compare that cost of living for you. Not as in as much detail as the Minnesota specific one, but based on, you know, reported national city, state wages, it'll give you somewhat of an idea of what the different cost of living is in different areas. So anyways, I'm Kelly. I work for CareerOneStop.org. CareerOneStop.org is a U.S. Department of Labor sponsored website, and that grant goes through the state of Minnesota and then to DEED. So I am a DEED employee who runs a website for the U.S. Department of Labor. It's very interesting to be an employee of the U.S. Department of Labor and of the state of Minnesota at the same time, as you can imagine. But our goal is always to just make sure that we are getting out best and most relevant, up-to-date information out to everybody and give everybody tools they can use to help them get themselves a job, education, or training. So I've been doing this for 21 years. I think I've ran this website. So I told Oriane, I'm like, I'll just talk however long you need me to talk. I can talk for 5 minutes, or I can talk for 5 hours. You let me know. So basically anything that you can find on the state labor market information sites from state to state, you can find in some way, shape, or form on our website, because this is at a national level. So the different labor market offices report their information to the states. We work together with them to do different programs and projects to make this information available to you. So while Oriane focused on a lot of that data today, and what my current outreach mechanism and thought is thinking outside of the box, because we are in a strange place. As Oriane mentioned, AI is taken over. Do people read resumes anymore? I don't know. I don't think so. We've got applicant tracking systems. We've got robots that are tracking keywords, and you guys, when you're looking for jobs and trying to understand how to get your resume to the top, how to be seen, I want to share some thoughts and tricks with you and tools that you can use on CareerOneStop to help you do that, to help you think outside of the box so that you're not just going to Indeed and typing in librarian, because unfortunately, that's not going to get you far in the current atmosphere. So there's a million pages on this website. So I'm only going to show you a few, but I absolutely urge you to go out and check it out. I go to the American Library Association conference and the Public Library Association conferences every year, and we have a large network of librarians because librarians are now career counselors on top of everything else that you do, because especially in public libraries, because you have people coming in to use your computers, you have people coming in to do their research, to get a job. And so more and more librarians are saying, hey, how can I help these people? So for you guys to know, this is actually a benefit to yourself for your personal journey, as well as a benefit to your career, because it's really great information for you to have to share with your clients. So the main website, there's tons and tons of information here. I'm just going to point out some of the things that I think that you guys will that will be helpful to you. So number one, up in the top navigation is this toolkit. This is all of the tools that CareerOneStop offers. So an interest assessment. So what do I want to be when I grow up based on what my interests are? So you go out and you do an interest assessment. It's going to analyze the knowledge, skills, and abilities based on the answers that you put in, and it's going to give you a list of jobs that you would like based specifically on your interests. Then you have a work values matcher. A work values matcher, you'll go out and you'll identify different work values and say that I have these beliefs. I like to have a boss that isn't a micromanager. I like to have, be free to do my work on my own time. And it will analyze and tell you different jobs that you might like based on those values. So now you have in my head, okay, so based on what I like to do, these are some good jobs. How I feel about work in general, here's some suggestions for jobs. And then you have a third one called the skills matcher, where you now are going out and evaluating your skills. So you've got three different aspects of looking at jobs and thinking, what do I want to do? Now, if all three of these say that you're going to be a librarian, I would be very surprised, because I've never had that happen. Even when I try to make it happen, I can't, get them to align, because they're different values and you have different things to look at. And so when you're out there looking for jobs, just because you have a library degree does not mean you have to be a librarian. Dru and Oriane showed you several different lists of job titles, and that's very true. And I'll show you some different, I'll show you our My Skills, My Future tool a little bit later to show you how you might identify some of those. And also our occupation profile tool, I'll show you, which gives related information. But you also have to keep in mind that there are several different employers that hire all of these different occupations. Just because you want to be a librarian doesn't mean you have to work at a library. You could work at a corporation, a hospital, a law firm, anything. You can work anywhere, because just like a project manager can work anywhere, a librarian can work anywhere. So there's so many things. So, what I always tell people is don't get yourself down because you can't find this job that you're looking for, because there's a million places to look. There's a million little secret tricks that you can think of to, again, think outside the box. And these kind of tools will help you do that. So you can find all three of those assessments, again, on our toolkit page. And then the fourth one I'm going to actually walk you through. It's called My Skills, My Future. And this is our skills transferability tool. So this is a tool that we've built on the knowledge, skills, and abilities identified with each of the 923 job titles as identified by ONET, or the Standard Occupational Classification System, SOC codes. So I'm just going to be pretty basic here and say librarian, okay? And one button, push my, find my career matches. So what it's going to do now is go and find the closest occupation to whatever. Oh, of course. Oh, okay. So librarians and media collection specialists is the SOC ONET code identified with the keyword that I entered for librarian. So what this is going to do is take the KSAs, knowledge, skills, and abilities associated with this job, and it's going to give me a list of all the other job titles that have similar knowledge, skills, and abilities. So with something that is, a librarian, that's pretty specific. So it's going to give me a lot of library occupations. So library technician, archivist, document management specialists, secretaries and administrative assistants. But this goes to show you that you have the same knowledge, skills, and abilities as all of these other jobs. So you don't have to box yourself into this one place. You really can think outside and have a lot of opportunities available to you. So within the My Skills, My Future tool, you will see the occupation. You can see job listings, which will bring you out to our job search system, which is the National Labor Exchange. You can see businesses, which I will show you later. This is our business finder tool. You can see the typical wages, the typical education. You can compare skills. If you want to compare library technician to another occupation, you can do that. And you can put in a location. Say, I only want to live in Minnesota, or I'm moving to Hawaii. So you can put in Hawaii and see what the difference is in Hawaii. So that's, this is a cool tool to see it on a national level, because again, we're very close to Minnesota, or to Wisconsin. So you can now see all this information for, Hudson or surrounding areas that might not be available to us on a Minnesota specific site. Now in this drop down here, you can see, you typed librarian, and what our system did was identified librarians and media collection specialists, right? Well, if you think, that's not really what I was expecting to pop up, this is going to give you other suggestions based on that keyword for other related SOC ONET codes. So library science teachers, library assistants, file clerks, library technicians, mail clerks, and mail machine operators. So kind of random there, but it just gives you, again, 6 more options for you to click on and see where and how those knowledge, skills, and abilities transfer, and if it's different or if it's the same. So this one, substitute teachers, childcare workers, gambling dealers, who knew, right? So it's just another tool for you in your arsenal of tools and your job search journey to think about other things that you might be interested in. I just took this user experience class, and as Oriane was talking, I was like, librarians would be so good at this, because I have to sit there and analyze data and figure out how to group it together. And I was thinking, like, that would be a great career for a librarian, a user experience analyst. Now, ONET only classifies currently 923 jobs. They might have added project manager this year, but up until last year, project manager was not a job title that you could find. And so, as we learn more and start classifying job titles more, you can type in different things. And that's what I'm going to show you next, is our occupation profile. If I can, there it goes. Okay. So it's in the toolkit. So I'm just going to get it from there so you guys can keep that in mind. So right here, occupation profile. So this is where you can pull up. And again, I'm just going to do librarian. And this time let's put in St. Paul. So it's going to pull up a short video, a day in the life of a librarian. It's going to pull up a description, and it's going to give you also known as. So, as I mentioned before, sometimes you might not find user experience specialist, you might not find data analyst, you might not find a lot of these job titles, but these are other jobs that they're called lay titles. Isn't that right, Oriane? I think the word is lay title. I can't remember. That
Yes,
just popped in
correct.
my
Yeah.
head. So, like catalog librarian, instructional technology specialist, media specialist, reference and instruction librarian. So when you're out there searching for jobs, you have no idea what these employers call their jobs. They might not call them librarians. They might call them an instructional technology specialist. They might call them a, multimedia services coordinator. So looking up jobs and looking at these titles here is another trick for you guys when you're doing your job search. What else could I search for besides librarian, right? So another way to think outside of the box. This is going to give you a lot of the data that Oriane presented to us earlier. The education, training required, median salary data, education level. This will link you out to our certification finder. You can find it licenses if there's any licenses for your state. And this is one of my favorite tools is the knowledge, skills, and abilities section, because if you don't know how to write your resume and you don't know all the amazing things that you know how to do, this will tell you. I know how I have active listening skills. I have critical thinking skills. I know how to maintain operational records. And these types of things can help you think about the hot points that you want to really point out in your resume. So if you're reading a job description and it says, I want to, or one of the job requirements, I need to drink just a second. But one of the job requirements is, teaching others how to use technology. And you're like, I don't know how to teach others how to use technology. Yes, you do. You just have to think about it a little bit differently and figure out how to word that so that you can get those keywords into your resume so that the applicant tracking system will read it so that it will get to the top of the list. So, looking at things like this, and again, here are some more related occupations that can give you some other ideas of jobs to search for as well. So up here, I mentioned certifications. So if you go to certifications, this is going to bring you to the CareerOneStop certification finder tool. And it's going to show you that we currently have 3 organizations that we have coded to provide certifications for library and media collection specialists. So the certifying organization, Audiovisual and Integrated Experience Association, has a certified technology specialist. Avid Technology has a Avid Certified Operator Pro Tools. I don't know what these things are, but maybe you guys do. And the Medical Library Association has a Consumer Health Information Specialization. You just got 6 tips on where to go find a job. I could contact this place. I could contact this place. I could contact this place. I could look up jobs for consumer health information specialization. I could look up jobs for certified operator or pro tools. I could look up a certified technical specialist in design, because apparently these are certifications that librarians get. You can even go get the certification, right? So again, more tricks and tips for you to think about other ways of doing your job search. Now I want to go back to the My Skills, My Future tool again and show you, I had mentioned this link earlier, Find Businesses. This is our business finder tool, and that's what this is called. And the tool exists within the My Skills, My Future tool, but it also exists on CareerOneStop under the toolkit that I've been, why is it doing that? Okay. So Either way that you want to access it, what it is we pay a company called Data Axle. CareerOneStop pays for this database to provide you with a list of every single employer that exists in the United States and Guam and Puerto Rico too. But so you know, for library technicians is what I have pulled up right now, right? And I have just gotten a list of every single company within 50 miles. We can make it 5, we can make it 100, depending on, you know, how many results there are. You can see a list of every single business that has reported to this Data Axle company, who's a data gatherer, that they have at some point hired a library technician. So we now have Treasy Information Service Corp. We have Minnesota Legislative Library. We have Veterinary Medical Library. We have the Mobile Library. We have all these resources, and we know that at some point they've hired a librarian. So we can be proactive. We can, you know, come out here and say, oh, what's this place? I've never even heard of this place. I didn't see any job openings, but maybe if you go to their website, they might have a job bank of their own, because we all know that not every employer posts to the state job bank. Not every employer posts their jobs to Indeed. You know, some people, you know, some people still post their jobs on Craigslist, you know? So it's, again, just giving you more options and more ways to dig in and be proactive about your job search, and thinking about different opportunities that you have available to you. So I want to show you another tool here, and that is our Professional Associations Finder. So under the toolkit, we have right here, Professional Association Finder. And this is a list of every professional association that we have been able to find. And this is done by the, 10 of us that work in this little office in Minnesota. So sometimes we find that it's not completely, up to date, but we add as we go. And so right now for librarians and media collection specialists, there are 7 professional associations that we have coded to that title, okay? The American Association of Libraries, School Libraries, Urban Libraries Council. Again, here are 4 resources where you can go out and click on each of these links, go to their website. Do they have a job bank? Are they hiring? We know right now that these 3 for sure have a career center on their website, because we've done the research and marked that yes, they have a job bank, and that's where they post their jobs. So unless you know to go to the Infocom International Avixa website, you're never going to find that job. And that job is going to sit out there, and it could be yours. So just again, another little thing that I feel like is cool for you guys to know. What else did I want to mention today? Again, I sometimes I wonder if I'm being too crude, but so many people don't understand that there are so many job resources that people post to. So, the professional associations, certification resources. We've got CareerForce, which is Minnesota's state-specific job bank. Formerly, it's not CareerForce yet. It's going to be, right? It's still called Minnesota Works, but it's transitioning to CareerForce. We have the state of Minnesota job bank for state-specific employees. We have usajobs.gov, which is every federal job where they get posted. We have governmentjobs.com, which is a site that congregates every city and county job for every city and county that contracts with them. We have every county with their own website, Ramsey County website, Washington County website, Dakota County website. They all post jobs on their websites, as do cities. City of St. Paul has a job posting website. City of Minneapolis, City of Woodbury, City of Cottage Grove, they all have their own sites. If you proactively go out and look for these sites, you might find a job that you would have never found just looking or Googling or whatever methods that you're using. So just keep those types of resources in mind, that there's you know, a really big world out there, and don't just constrain yourself to focusing on a few places. Use the tools that are available to you, figure out what you like to do, figure out what you're good at, and really you know, think about it, because you want to be happy and secure and be able to live. And the best way to do that is to plan and make sure that you know what you want to do and where you want to go. So right now, as I mentioned, our campaign focus right now is really trying to think outside the box and figure out how to find jobs. So we just released this article called "Network to Your Next Job," and it's really interesting information that we have compiled for you to look at. We have social media, there's networking steps, how to do informational interviews, how to research employers. Will be coming out in next week. We have a targeted job search article, how to target your job search and look at specific employers. We have another article that will be coming out, I don't think till April, but that's going to be on AI and applicant tracking systems and how to best navigate them, because when every single company has a different applicant tracking system, you know what that means? It means you have to do a different resume for every single job. And that is, it seems psychotic and crazy, but it really pays off, because if you can make those keywords match what's in the job title, you're far more likely to get pulled into the possibility of having a resume than if you're just mass emailing the same resume to every single job opening. CareerOneStop is also the hub of the American Job Center Network. So you have heard of Career Force and the local Minnesota workforce centers. And so if you ever want to find a workforce center and get personal assistance with writing a resume or take a class, they have classes there all the time. They have WIOA training programs where if you qualify, typically based on funding and need, but if you qualify, you can take free classes and get free training, and they'll pay for your certifications or give you a computer sometimes. So, you know, if you want to go that route and learn more about it and see if you qualify, or just see what's available for you out there, you can contact one of these offices. And I just did a search for 25 miles within St. Paul. There's 13 American Job Centers out there to help you. So maybe, you know, some of these people, maybe, you know, Judy at the Career Force Center in St. Paul has worked there for 20 years, and she knows 8 employers that are desperately hiring. You know, maybe you want to talk to Judy. Who knows? You know, again, being proactive and thinking about these types of things and the different resources that are available to you is how I think you're going to be successful in your career search journey. So if you want to contact us at all, the contact us button is here, and this is me. It's me. So if you email this, I will answer you. And if you want to follow on social media, you can do that. If you are interested in seeing the news when we send out articles and stuff, if you go to CareerOneStop News here in the News Center, you can sign up for our updates, which is right here. You'll be subscribing to Minnesota Deeds GovDelivery database. And I am always open for questions. So Dru, if you are going to share emails, you feel free to share mine. And if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them.
Yeah, what questions do you have for Kelly?
Bring them on. I'm just like, blah, 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 blah.
Can you talk, Kelly, about the difference between Indeed, which I think is probably the most popular job data bank versus like the National Labor Exchange?
Yes. So the biggest difference that I think is number one, the National Labor Exchange is free for employers to post their jobs to if they do it through their state job bank. So if you post the job through Minnesota Works or Career Force, you don't have to pay. If you want to post them on a national level, or if you just want to do it probably easier and they probably help you a lot more, you can post them directly to National Labor Exchange. Now, in order to post a job through the Minnesota State Job Bank or National Labor Exchange, you have to be verified. They will verify that you have a tax ID number or employer identification number. You can't just be anybody and go out there and post a job, stuffing envelopes. Anybody can post a job on Indeed. And unfortunately, that creates a lot of scams and gets people in a lot of bad situations. And it's hard to trust sometimes that those are authentic job postings. And so while, yes, you can find a lot of job postings out there, I always suggest that, if you see a job for ABC company, contact ABC company and make sure they exist before you go and apply for their job and send them all your information and your resume. Whereas I don't feel that way about, if you're applying on the Minnesota state system or, the National Labor Exchange system, because all those jobs are vetted and, actually real. Anything else?
Well, people think of questions, Kelly. Can you talk about like the next library conference CareerOneStop will be at?
Yeah, so the Public Library Association Conference is actually in Minneapolis this year. So we will be there. And it's April? No, it's June. I think it's in June.
Like April?
It's April 1st.
Is it April? It is April. Okay. I'm trying to remember. I'm like, am I going to there in April or June? Yeah.
June, you're going to ALA.
Yeah. So we will be there and we set up a booth and get our brochures out there and make sure that we like to make sure that any librarian who wants or needs brochures, we will mail them to you. We will hand them to you so that you can put them in your resource room so that you can give them out to people. You can put job search widgets on your computers and we will show you how to do that so that if you do have job seekers who come into your libraries, you can say, hey, go here because, we know that you guys are busy and we want to be your assistant for helping people do their job searches and for you to be aware of how to do them yourselves successfully.
Kelly, can you give advice to, I'm assuming there are some people who are searching for jobs right now amongst the audience. And if they wanted this, additional expertise and support that you provided today, where would you direct them to go?
So number one, I would say go to your American Job Center because you can go sign up there to talk with a career counselor. Sometimes they're busier than, than we would like them to be to talk to everybody, but they have all the resources there. They have all the classes there. They have everything that I've told you about to help you get on your path. Now, if you want to do some self-learning, all of this is included in the content on CareerOneStop. So besides for the toolkit, there's an entire section called Explore Careers where you will find, and again, I could talk for 5 hours about this website because there's a million pages, but you can go out there and you can research career clusters. You can watch career videos. You can learn how to do a resume. It will walk you through how to network. It will walk you through how to go to school. It will show you jobs that are in demand. It will help you learn about the best way to advance in your professional development, how to get apprenticeships, how to get short-term training. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And you can find all of this in content written by our in-house editors, one of whom is a career counselor. So I think that it's some of the best information around. And you can also find a lot of this information on the Minnesota system, which is Career Force as well, which are the Minnesota American Job Centers. So, and if you ever have questions, you can always email us. And I'm always happy to answer them for you.
Yeah, the Career Force centers in Minnesota that Kelly mentioned are part of DEED, and there's over 50 of them. They're throughout the state.
Yeah. Let me do a search for Minnesota and see how many there actually are right now.
And they offer help in person as well as online. And that's also where you would go if you needed help with your unemployment insurance, if you were an employer wanting help finding employees.
Yeah, 54. There are 54
Okay.
career forces right now in the state of Minnesota. So, yeah, but they have career labs, they have computer labs, they have classes, they have trainings, and you can go on to the Career Force website to see those and sign up for them. And like I said, see if you qualify for any type of training programs, or there's lots of options available to you there. Even if, vocational rehabilitation, they can put you in with Social Security. They can help people with if you're a veteran. So a lot of different programs that are all also run through DEED that you can learn about and sign up for through the Career Force offices. And it's Friday tomorrow.
And it's what?
It's Friday tomorrow.
Oh, right. So, but these career force offices focus on all careers, right? I mean, it's not, I think
Correct.
there's my assumption that they are not for everybody.
Well,
they should be called unemployment offices, maybe.
Yeah. Well, they are supposed to be for everybody.
Okay.
I mean, typically, you're probably going to find people who are very desperate for jobs in there. But, I mean, it's available to you. Yeah, Yeah. You are a tax-paying citizen, so you get access to all the government stuff, just like everyone else.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, CareerOneStop seems like a secret.
I know. It's so funny because like I said, I've been doing this for 20 years and I have been preaching and constantly telling everybody about it. For the longest time, our annual outreach budget was less than $100,000 to tell the whole nation about all these resources. So, government work for you.
And you're working with libraries too, aren't you, Kelly, to get the word out?
Yeah, we're working with everybody. I would love to have a contact list of all the librarians and be like, ah, but they don't want to give it to me.
Who doesn't want to give it to you?
The American Library Association.
Oh.
Yeah. If you guys got any secret lists, I'll take them.
And
Well,
do you know?
I do know that if you sign up to exhibit at the Minnesota Library Association, they will give you a list of all the attendees.
So the Minnesota one does.
Minnesota will.
I wonder if each state would do that, because then I'd have to go to
all
the
they
state
might,
ones.
because they're just as desperate to get people to exhibit.
Right.
So some of the larger states, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, that have big state conferences, ours averages about 400 to 500 people a year of all types of libraries. So that's one way to do it. I can't believe, why doesn't ALA do that?
So they have a ALA like internal communication system. So I could post like an article or something like that, and it'll go out there, but it won't tell me who it's going to. Or yeah.
Right. Interesting though, worth exploring. We have a newsletter that goes to 700 people, mostly in the Twin Cities, but elsewhere too. And I'm
Yeah.
always thinking, well, we could do a little profile of CareerOneStop in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Both
just,
from a personal and
yeah,
library standpoint.
yeah, it's good information and it's free. So
And it's
that's my whole,
free.
like,
It's
yeah,
all
like
free.
take it, use it, Yeah.
Tell your friends and relations.
Yep. Yep.
Do you have
Yeah.
any upcoming webinars, Kelly, that, some of the attendees' colleagues might want to attend?
Yes, we have a upcoming webinar in March, and that is going to be very similar to what I talked about today. It's finding a job in a tight job market, and that's going to be on Workforce GPS, which is the U.S. Department of Labor's online webinar communication system, and that is scheduled for March 19th. Now, I don't know if there's any sign up for it out there yet because of, all the stuff that's happening right now. So we're just kind of waiting for them to put it out there, but I haven't looked for a couple days to see if it's been published yet. So, but it should be hopefully soon if it's not already.
Right.
Yeah. And if you want to know more information about that, you can again email one of us and we'll get you the information. Yeah, I don't see anything popping up yet. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Well, I learned a lot.
good. Yeah, well, I figured between
Oh,
Oriane and I, we could really pump you out some good stuff.
right. Quite very different, but very useful from both perspectives. So thanks, Dru, for helping.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for